Good morning, everyone. I will now call this special meeting of the Macon County Board of Education to order. And the first item on our agenda are the elections of the board chair and the board vice chair. So as a first order of business, I will open the floor for nominations for the office of board chair. Nominations do not require a second.
Mr. Lynch, I would like to nominate Mr. Breedlove to remain as position of chair.
I'll second that.
Thank you for the nominations. Jim Breedlove is nominated for the office of board chair. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no further nominations for board chair, I will close the floor and call for a vote. All those in favor of electing Jim Breedlove to the office of board chair, please signify by raising your hand. And that is all in favor, no opposed. Congratulations, Jim Breedlove.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We are looking forward to your leadership. And I will now cede the gavel over to you for the remainder of the meeting as you conduct the vice chair election.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Like I said, I'm getting my emotions under control here. Next, we have the election of the board vice chair, which is an important position that the board vice chair will fill in the absence of the chairman. So at this time, I'll open the floor for nominations concerning the board vice chair of the Macon County Board of Education.
Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate Missy Evans for vice chair.
Ms. Evans has been nominated. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any other nominations from any of the board members? Hearing none, I'll then declare it open. All those in favor of nomination of Missy Evans as vice chair, please signify your approval by raising your right hand. Any opposed? She did raise it again.
I don't know if I had to vote myself.
I have to confess, I'm very, very humbled. I'm sorry, my grandchildren being here was very, very special today. So, next is, I'll try to move on. Appointment of the committee. I think the only committee we really have is that of the liaison. And that is my duty to appoint that. And based on the excellent work we've had from our two previous members, which is Deidre Breeden, she's been over helping with our projects here in Franklin. And Henry Wilkes has a very important project taking place in the Highlands. So based on that, I see no reason to change that. So I will be nominating and moving to maintain committee for liaison of Deidre Breeden and of Henry Wilkes moving forward. And I don't think we have to have a vote on that, or do we? Who's John?
Did we ever have?
I don't think so. It's been a jury on that. Okay. I'm not aware of any other nominations that we need to do at this point. Is that correct? So, haven't done all that. Okay. I'm very excited as we move into this new year. This board I'm very, very proud to be part of. I'm also very proud of the conduct of this board. And truly, I think we leave our emotions at the door when we come. It's always about what is truly in the best interest of the students. And for that alone, I'm very humble and very proud to be part of this group. And looking forward to having great things this coming year. We have a lot of big projects looking at us, shall we say. And the system continues to grow, so we have our work cut out for it, but I can't think of better four people to serve with than this group here. So, thank you all. Missy, you want to say anything?
I'm in agreement with everything you said.
Okay.
I've really enjoyed working with all of you. I feel like we're in sync, and I really enjoy making really good friends too. So I appreciate everybody's confidence in me. And I'm like Jim, I was very humbled that my grandchildren, 3 of them showed up. So it makes me a little emotional. They surprised me, and it's pretty awesome. So, but thank you for everything.
And last but not least.
It's an honor to serve, and it's a pleasure to serve with such professional and invested people who are willing to do the work. That's what we're here to do, and it's a lot of work, and I appreciate appreciate each of you, and I'm excited for the next 4 years.
Go from there. Again, thank everyone to be here. We'll pause momentarily before we start in the business in case I think I have 2 little ones who go to school. And they say they're fine. Or maybe they say they're going to be fine, whichever. Good.
I'll be back. Okay. I'm gonna run a kid. Oh, Jared, I thought we Motion to Thank y'all.
We put a quieter generator at the top of the
That would probably work. Correct you, Rand. Lainey will be joining us in just a moment as we move our capital outlay projects. However, since she's in the middle of a phone call, so we'll move forward. Was there any other business that the board needed to consider at this time? Mr. Lynch?
No, sir.
Mr. Lainey, anything you know about? We will have another meeting, I think, on the 16th.
Yes.
Not a whole lot of time. At that time, of course, we'll have our full slate and agenda when we come to that. I don't think there's any need to go into any personal issues. That's what we say.
While we're on the subject of that meeting, and I mentioned to a few of you earlier, on the 16th, my wife is having it's a minor procedure. I keep thinking about that joke about minor procedures, what other people have, major surgeries, what you have. And so it's, anyhow, it's nothing dire, but I do need to be with her that day, so I'm kind of conflicted out. I do have, and I don't know if Renee got a chance to print, did you see that I sent you the memo, policy memo for the 16th?
Yes.
So I'm hoping to grab a few minutes when we're done with everything else today just to run through just a couple of points about it. I don't think they're a huge deal, but we actually are finally policy-wise on the, get into the rhythm of 2 times a year, you've got a batch of them to look at, and you might take a couple meetings, you might not, kind of thing. So we're finally there, and this is the one from October to look at, maybe get through, possibly. So hopefully we'll have time to do that.
As long as someone doesn't take too long doing ethics today, we might flow in nicely. That was a good one.
Well, I do almost apologetic about it. It is a legal requirement, but it's a presentation that, Jim, I don't know how many times you could probably just lead it, and I'll listen to you.
Probably do it well with it, yeah.
Because you could through that gets 4 or 5 times. Anyway, we'll make it as painless as possible.
I was wondering how the state conference was. You have a minute to tell us about it.
I thought it was very worthwhile. Excellent had speakers. And I think we have what's called breakout sessions we were going to, and those were the ones I read attended very, very good. A lot of different ranging subjects. I brought the information back. It was also very good to meet your peers, as I said before, and I recognize a lot of faces that we've seen in the past continuation, especially from Haywood County. I think those guys, they're kind of like us. They've done a good thing to keep you going. So it was very, very good, and I greatly enjoyed the time I got to spend with the other board members. We're sorry you were able to make it, but I think we visited, and it was a good time.
One of the breakout sessions that I went to was talking about funding for new schools and that sort of thing, and they used Macon County as an example, and they were very, very, they talked very well of us and how we handled it, how we were prepared for each step of that, and they actually used us as an example, so
Y'all, I hear it everywhere I go. everybody who wants to do a project is talking about, let's figure out what they did and when.
I was just talking about, putting the money out there to prepare for it and be ready when the funding come in so you could hit the ground running, basically. And we did that, we paid, our county put out some money just to get a plan in place. And how well worth it was to have that done, because then the process is not slowed down when you actually get the funding. And they used us as an example, so I was pretty proud. I really was.
Stephanie?
It was great. Mo Green spoke.
Yes.
Really, really impressive, and the other keynotes were excellent. Just fantastic. I'm with Lizzie. The breakout sessions. It's so well thought out. For a minute, we didn't have the agenda we were thinking about. It's been a really busy season, but it was a great. It was really good.
Petition for a date change. It's always while I'm at market, which I can't miss. I was curious, John, too. I don't know when Mo Green takes office, or are we expecting any sort of crazy immediate changes that are going to affect us, or?
No, you're seeing some of what's happened at the state level. There is a recognition that they're not going to have the veto-proof majority anymore, so there's some last minute, some of the relief bills had a bunch of political maneuvering in it and power grabs, for my opinion, that were for political reasons. But once we get to that next General Assembly, the fact that it's not veto-proof for now, of course it wasn't at the start of this last General Assembly either, so, they didn't have there was a senator who switched parties and threw everything. No, I'm sorry, she's a Houseman. At any rate, so nothing would surprise me. They're back in December for a couple of sessions, and
Is he sworn in yet? Or is he sworn in, or does that happen
No,
in
I
January?
don't think that happens until the beginning of the new year.
Same as with the governor?
Yeah, correct. I don't think from the department itself, I don't think you'll see a lot from DPI or from the state board. I think they'll pretty much hold tight until the change in leadership happens. And again, speaking as a board attorney, I'm taking a think that it is Mo Green. He's a school board attorney. He's a school board chair. He's been in every kind of position you want to be to have a great, and he's worked with large districts and small districts, and he's a real, I think, it's at a crucial time, because the bigger changes to look for are what's going to happen at the federal level.
Yeah.
Because we don't, they talk about, I read an article the other day that talked about if there is follow through on the sort of campaign promises to do away with the federal Department of Education, what that means. It could, the soft breakup of it would be parceling out things like IDEA money, Title I, you may take those over here and put them in Treasury. Enforcement of things like what the OCR, the Office for Civil Rights, does, moved over to like the Justice Department. You could take what it does and kind of chop it up and put it into different departments and let them try to figure out how to do it. The other option, and there are voices that call for this, is nope, we really mean it, annihilate it, no more Title I funding, no more IDEA funding, no more nothing. We'll have to see. It's hard to know what that's going to look like. So I think we get Mo Green into office at the state level at a time when we really are going to need leadership at the state level more than ever. Because if nothing else, I think if there's any kind of movement at the federal department level, it's going to mean that much more burden on the states to figure out how they go about doing this.
Does that take an act of Congress also to dissolve a department?
Yes, it will, and that's part of what gives me some hope that maybe it'll be buffered and won't be as drastic as it might have been otherwise, because it is not a simple thing. It's not an executive act that just ends a department. It will take congressional action. I don't know what all that would look like, but it can't be that easy.
I'm gonna switch with her. She needs to plug up.
Morning, lady.
I'm gonna move over there. Yeah.
Today, my cards are out. And it's the price is
Welcome to the corner. Hi.
Y'all could look over my page. Yeah.
Is that, it's what we have in here? Oh,
Yeah. Same thing.
I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, this is time too, so.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, this is also wherever you go.
We just went by the schools and it's like broken down by school. With comments and stuff, so it's a little bit.
Yeah, because they got their feedback. They got That's good for me.
Lady, you give a rundown of how much
Sure,
we
yeah.
have already back here and then how much we still have.
We do need a photo. We really need.
Whenever you're ready.
I would be at
Yes.
I would wear it.
Do you want me to?
Second longer.
At the top.
This is right here, so get to these and figure it out. I'll give you just a moment.
Okay.
So not here, still, yes, it's on the parking lot.
Hey Tracy, if we ever get a quote from PBI's parking lot, it is,
We were waiting.
is it in here?
I've got it
And
here.
then I don't know what
That's
happened.
a
I started
30-day
looking something else.
quote.
And
Okay, that's fine. I think it's this idea.
He'll give you a roundabout
They
idea.
parceled it out.
Okay.
Okay.
You need me to move up?
I think, yeah, I'm giving everybody just a second to review what we have. And then we'll have Tracy come up and he can talk to you guys, or talk to us. Talk to us about, from his perspective.
You're talking much of what that looks like.
Yeah, he already filled me out one a few minutes ago, so it was good.
I know. I'm gonna ask her. Yeah, it's not particularly insulated.
No, that's why that's what makes it.
Thank everyone for their patience. Like I said, we're reviewing this for the first time and trying to put, I think, in perspective. As everyone here probably knows, we asked our principals to prioritize their capital outlay requests this year, and they have done so. So we're going to take just a second look over those, and then we'll move forward. And Laney will be giving us a breakout of things we have already decided upon, I think it was. It'll be up there, and then we can keep
Yes.
a running total as we move forward. We're marking our stuff. Everyone ready?
Some of the things highlighted.
Some of them we've already
Remember, we
prioritized.
prioritized the last meeting.
Excellent. Yep,
And we'll let, yeah.
or talked about, so I highlighted the ones we've talked about or that we've already decided on.
So the other, like security cameras and door types and stuff, is that, these are still things that need to be approved, or is that coming out of Tim's then?
That would be able to, depending on if we get that grant.
The grant, yeah, we're waiting on the grant to find something like that. Be able to-
When do you think you'll find that out?
Which one is that grant? Say security to safety.
I asked Roger, and he was anticipating we should know something this month.
Okay. And I think this one we found out last year, it was right before we got out for Christmas break. So we should know something soon.
And refresh our memory, Tim, those would cover the swipes and what else? Did we look at?
And the cameras, the cameras.
Cameras. And do you have an idea, how much did we apply for? Do you have any idea how much it will be if we're
We went for the
successful?
full-on fee.
Yeah, we went, in equipment, it was 360,000 or something like that.
I think it was 500,000 for the, I don't know.
It's been a while.
Well, that's fine, I just, another question, Rick, that's fine. So we got, that should cover the cameras and swipes. Hopefully even more than that, just depending on when we get it. Okay. So hold off, I think, on security type stuff, at least here as well for that. All right, with the board's agenda, I'd like to have Laney just go back over, highlight what we did do and where we're at, and just bring it, so those, we can refresh ourselves, and also those in attendance can be brought up to speed where we're at.
Okay, so we've got $1,250,000 in capital outlay this year from the county. We've got $600,000 separated for technology and $550,000 for other capital, and then $100,000 for additional. That's whatever you want it to be on. So far, we've prioritized $342,268.55. The items that we've approved are the mobile serving line at Macon Early College, the warming unit, and the reach-in cooler at Macon Early College, the double-stack ovens at Cartiga and South Macon, the fencing at Nantahala, 2 milk coolers for Franklin High School, the swing set at Nantahala, and then we looked at the parking lot resurfacing, main front parking lot for MVI, and then the maintenance truck.
And what was that total again?
$342,268.55.
And that's what we've already prioritized.
Yes, and we have $207,731.45 left to be prioritized.
For 207 what, Laney?
207,731.45. And then we do have the additional two of 100,000. I just kept that separate. I didn't know what you guys wanted
So
to.
we could have a little bit over 300,000.
Yeah.
100,000, depending.
Were we waiting to see if that had to be designated for something specific? Was that a question we had at the last meeting, or does that have to go to tech, or can that go to
I don't think, I
anything?
think it goes to anything.
Okay.
Rid of that, just so you know what the grant outcome is.
That type of reserve. I think our job now is to look at crucial items that we know we will, and then, as you said,
Priority level.
So the
10
priority,
means I gotta have this, and 0 means it can wait.
so on Nantahala, they did 10 being what they need right now.
Right.
All the other schools did priority level as in like one.
One is-
That's what I want done first.
That's, okay, that's what I was trying to.
Two, that's what I want done second.
Okay.
fencing and swing set, and Taylor, we have,
Whole library building. I know what they told me.
not really fit to,
Didn't know what fit.
no, the siding's dropping
For
off of
storage?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the floor
I
system.
haven't been in it in a while, I didn't know. I knew it needed a roof, but I didn't know putting a roof on it would.
Yeah, the walls is mushy and the
Okay.
floor.
Okay, never mind.
They want this milk cord. That wasn't one of the ones we purchased already, correct? There's
Which
31
one?
Nanahala that's
Nanahala.
got a 31-year-old milk cord.
I don't think that's not on here. On this one that we've already prioritized.
Question, at Cartugajay, they listed laptops and storage cart. Is that, Tim, something that would be part of a grant, or is there a grant?
They didn't do a grant for that. That was just a request for them for an additional laptop cart of 30 laptops. And it wouldn't be included in the 600,000 because that's replacement cost
Yeah,
of
okay.
current things that we currently have.
Okay.
So that was an addition.
So there's nothing, it was not part of 600, correct?
It was not,
It's not refresh. Because it's refresh.
Yeah, maintaining what we have with the 600.
Macon, we talked about a lot. And then the Highlands one too.
Yeah,
So we talked about that.
We have a little sidebar over here about playground equipment request. So I just added up everyone's playground equipment request equal $293,369. A huge chunk of that is Highlands has on theirs $180,000. I'm not sure if we can't probably maybe bring that down. I don't know. I think that's to replace what we have. I'm not sure where that number came from. But we were just talking about grant opportunities for things like that, for playground equipment for the kids, be it get outside grants or active grants. I don't, who would make those grant requests? I know.
We could possibly, we could reach out to our battery of grantors just to see if there are any physical education type grants that we could apply for.
Or mental health.
It's possible, we could possibly even pursue Dogwood
That's what I was just.
for SEL or anything of that nature. We can explore that.
Well, that's the type of thing I hope that we can find a grant source for, so we don't have to go up to the commissioners for something like that. If we can pull everyone's needs together, and I'm happy to help craft the story and whatever we need to get a grant written. I just don't know whose desk that falls on. Do you know when their cycle begins or ends?
I don't. Do you know when Dogwood, I knew they had kind of paused a little bit because of all the rebuild in Western North Carolina. They were kind of going a different direction as to what they had initially intended. But I'm not quite sure. I would think once the new year gets started, they would probably have their mission kind of set. So we could reach out to them just to see if we could jump on a call and explore that if that's even an option. And we could either rule it out or pursue it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to help with that in any way and be on a call from the board.
If you're talking about like SEL and mental health help, Senator Corbin's office reached out to us. There is going to be a drop of funding that we're going to get because we're a heavily impacted county. And so we met with all the principals, and we have it's a one-time drop of funding, but we've met with principals, and there's a mental health platform that is accessible, and all of them have decided to move forward with at least after-school offerings to families, putting that in place, and we can bake in, like they bill people's insurance, they bill Medicaid, they bill private insurance, but they said we can bake in like a financial aid package for folks who that's a barrier for. So they all liked it. There was a bilingual option, so we're going to do that. And then also I pulled up our school safety grant. We wrote in $350,000 for psychological service contracts, so we could also bolster that if we get it. And I've texted Robbie to see, when we'll find out if we get it. The hard thing is we can't. So some of these grants are only like one-time drops, and it's hard to put somebody's livelihood and job on a one-time grant drop. But we are seeing some really good positives with the UNC partnership, you know, with the middle school. And that's been a little bit of work getting it off the ground, but, you know, it's going maybe better than we thought. We've been a little scared of the virtual, but it's going pretty well.
Was that primarily just for contracted services? It didn't have any like equipment related to it, or
so
would we be able to?
The platform is called Cartwheel, and they're like a large provider out of the Midwest, and they're partnering with Swain, and we bumped Mr. Henning a contract to look at before we work in some specifics for us. But all the principals were really, you know, excited about it, and they can serve people during breaks, like when we're off of school. They can do it till 8 p.m. You know, at night. They have a huge, like a very robust selection of providers that specialize in different things, just depending on where a kid falls, like what specialty they're needing. So it's really nice.
I was just thinking we could use the mental health aspect of being outside and recess and playing to get the playground equipment, to put that into a grant request for the equipment needed at all of the schools that have the needs.
I noticed at South Macon,
I did write in fencing for like their playground at the road, because that was a safety thing, but I could make into that one. But yeah, that's a good idea. If there's any that come up.
The Dogwood website says that guidance for 2025 grant making will open at the end of this fall. So, and I seem to remember it's like April, May when grants are due. They review over the summer, and I don't think they even divvy those out until late summer, as far as their timeline typically. But
I wonder if Cousins Cashers might be interested in something like that, or if that maybe with the health department.
You can have that.
They've been really good to work with.
David, if I can start with you, if that's all right. We did several things like the ovens, but I see here we still have several milk coolers that I think we discussed them. I don't know if I probably didn't take any action. So if those things go out, then we have issues, correct? And all the schools where they're at, or no?
When we've had problems before, we've temporarily put them on the cold serving lines. So
Yeah, that's just a temporary fix.
Yeah.
This is not good.
And like the one in Nantahala, I just recently talked with her about that. It will need replacing at some point. I'm not sure how they even got it in there, to be honest. You know, Tracy?
We're good.
Unless it went over top of this serving line, I don't know if those back doors are wider.
It's wider.
So, that would probably be another one I'd put in the top.
The reason I'm asking is that someone can act I think, let me see. Sorry, guys. How many milk coolers do we have?
I'm counting them up right
Yeah, I
now.
was thinking,
So far.
We basically focused on the ovens and getting those things done for food service, but this is just as important.
So it looks like there are 2 at Mountain View Intermediate, 1 at Macon Middle School, 1 at East Franklin, and 1 at Nantahala. And it looks like the Nantahala, that's a 31-year-old unit. I would think that would be a...
Basically what we're looking at is about $25,500 or so for all of those. Is that
and
right?
you said how many places?
We had 2 at MVI, and then 3 others. Nantahala, I don't remember the schools, we got 3 others.
Yeah, okay, so 5 total, 25,500?
Yeah.
Were those already in that total that we approved, didn't we?
We approved a couple.
That's
but-
for the high school.
Oh, just those 2.
Yeah, these were not part of our previous approval. I just sitting looking at it, so.
Okay.
And with the emphasis on food services, and we all understand the need. I'm very concerned about not getting those in place, as I heard David describe the steps they had to take just to keep it there. That's not the condition of our people working under. But I'm just throwing it out there. That's part of our discussion. I do think we need to prioritize those and keep that in the back of our heads about a definite need for that. And I'll open the floor now for other. And I'll say, well, I'm not going to do that play yet. We had playground equipment also, which, if I understood right, board members, those were becoming safety issues. Highlands most certainly was, and was it
South Macon.
South Macon. And so,
I saw the pictures, yeah, you can see this on the Highlands page. This was a donated equipment back, what was it, 2000, I think it's 25 years old if I'm remembering correctly. Can't read that some. But we've got you see where it's boarded up on the side.
What were the figures?
Her estimate on the Highlands page is $180,000, and I'm assuming that's for it's to replace the entire structure.
Right.
I think there are some probably more modern apparatuses that would be on a new piece of equipment that we probably have some apparatuses on there that might be questionable. I mean, not unsafe, obviously. We wouldn't have them there now, but there are probably some other ways that we could look at doing something that has to serve such different age ranges too, because it's a pretty big age range.
Based on what you described, there was one particular piece that we had boards that had been erected.
So this
put
piece,
on there, as
yeah.
you're describing.
Oh yeah, he's got the big picture.
Yeah.
So that used to be a twisty slide,
Right.
and it totally came off. So then they've had to board up that ending that used to go into a slide. So now, I mean, you just really hope nobody runs full slam into that board. It doesn't feel super safe. I would assume it's done in a way that we feel it's safe if we're allowing kids to play on it. So, but in general, what I think the purpose of this little picture over here to the right was to say that a bunch of community members came together and donated this equipment about 20-25 years ago. Do you see, what's the year on that?
In the fall of 2005.
2005, so about 20 years ago. I think the point of showing that sign is to show that there has not been investment in a Highlands playground, from the county. That was done locally. But all that's to say is, I think it's important that we kind of look at all the playgrounds together and figure out what we need and hopefully go for some money that can help alleviate the issues across the county.
I just spent just a second online. There's like 5, just at a glance, really good opportunities that are either going to be applications in this month or through February for PE equipment, specifically through people like the Professional Athletes Foundation that donates a lot of money, Cliff Bar Foundation. This is just a quick glance at who would be a grant opportunity. I think we should write those. I'm with Hillary. I'm happy to help with that. So let's try and do it for the whole thing. Not to say, I agree with Mr. Breedlove, that we shouldn't take care of anything, that let's prioritize stuff. Maybe we don't get any. But if we do, and we can approach some foundation for some money, is that allowable?
It is. I think we need to keep control over what it ultimately is built there. We handle donations, at least I do, and that one predates me. But with a kind of an agreement about how it's going to be put in is going to meet our standards. Right. And I'd like you, Hillary, I assume we're not going to expose kids to a dangerous condition, but we do have to, it is our ball game, and we do have to make sure that it's all up to standards. I'm skeptical of that $180,000 number, because I don't think that buys you much playground equipment right now.
You don't think it's enough?
Not shiny new stuff, it's
Well,
state of the art.
Probably before we write any grants, is we need to get full today pricing on exactly what would be needed. Because as you can see, I mean, this is just one end of our equipment. On the top of the picture to the right, you can see the back end. There's monkey bars and a little mini zip line thing and a bridge and another slide and things, a little climbing wall. I mean, it's a huge piece of equipment. So, you're right. I mean, I don't know what things cost. I'm always,
Well, so it's in the disaster area, but with another client, I'm working with them with a playground that got completely swept away, and and that's a fully accessible playground too, which you probably want that.
exactly,
But
and this is not
this is more like knocking on $1 million.
Exactly,
$1 million.
Yeah. It's,
Now, you
that's
can
to
spend
replace
over-
the whole shooting match.
It is,
Yeah.
and with grading, with all kinds of stuff that you may not need. And again, with full accessibility, which, to your point, Hillary, you're serving an entire K-12 population, not just an age range, but also ability ranges. But I think for what you would want to go in there and be proud of, that's not
Maybe
really
more
touching.
engineering grants, the
It's the kind of thing we might think about trying to do a design build type of arrangement, because it's a fairly specialized thing. You find somebody who can come in and design it with the understanding, then let's design it and figure out what we're happy with, and now we'll have to see what we've got the ability to actually fund, and we might have to,
Do you have a ballpark of what it would cost to design, to hire somebody to design it
To
and
just
price it
design
and
it?
get all of the numbers?
I don't, I think we want to talk, I know there's one that's about to build for the town of Franklin.
And Highlands too, I think. They
Are they
got some
the
money
same group?
as well.
I don't mind to talk to them or through them and just try to ballpark it. Or put Tracy in touch with them, or however y'all want to handle it. But I do think you can get a better idea of just how much, and maybe I'm completely wrong, I think based on what I'm seeing,
Did they have a design, build, bid? Sort
they
of?
will do it that way. I think that
Set
they're, frankly, the one from Franklin, I'm scratching my head on a little bit, because the equipment itself is on state contract, which is good, because then you don't have to go to bid for it. And that's another question about how we're gonna build this thing is, if you got 5 grants and a bunch of volunteer, a bunch of donations, or however you did it, if we end up being the ones doing it, we're still subject to all the state laws about bidding. You can get the equipment from a state contract and you don't have to bid that. The service of actually installing it, which is, again, fairly specialized, I think, we would want to be able to say, they told us they did it right, and because they're playground installation experts. So there's different ways to go at it, but I think that just having a conversation about an estimate would be a place to start.
So you're saying the installation would be what, for the player, guaranteed, or?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you want to have a designer who is sealing plans and saying this is engineered and good to go and not going to fall apart immediately and not dangerous, and that they want their assurance and a warranty that they've installed it with the correct depth of the whatever you have, the bedding and all of that kind of stuff, so it is as safe as possible. But all of that adds up to, I think you better think about more like $500,000. Not just design, I'm talking about with some, that's
Equipment and
more like the ballpark.
Well, if we're doing that for Highlands, are there other playgrounds that need to?
Yes.
I feel like we need to pull back and look at everyone, like, some type of, assessment, but, right, like a holistic approach but an assessment, and have each of them assessed and figure out what everybody's needs are, and then let's prioritize, from a timeline sort of way, like a phasing way of what is needed and what is the most urgent, and kind of like, almost like what we're doing here with capital outlay, but with the playgrounds, because how many playgrounds are handicap accessible or accessible in the county, are they?
I don't know that there are any. The one that they're, the
At our
town
schools.
is gonna be one.
Right,
I
at our
don't know about schools, whether they have.
To clarify, the couple things I brought about this was, I'm getting the impression at South Macon that we have a very unsafe situation down there.
Yeah.
All across the board. So I don't think, and that's the other reason I mentioned Highlands, was you had mentioned we had a board up there apparently to stop the kids or to hold the slide or something together. So, which is also, in my opinion, very unsafe. So what I was focusing on was, what do we need to take care of those two particular situations right now because they're safety issues?
East Franklin's the same as that one in Highlands. We've got board up over it too.
Okay.
I agree. Like, do we, well, so I'll say this. I mean, Tracy and his crew have made them safe because they've made sure it doesn't look pretty, but there's boards and things so they can't access it. That's not what we want.
I know.
But I don't think kids are
No, they're
unsafe
not
because
following
of
through
that.
it, but it's
But it needs to be.
not what it needs to be.
But I just, yeah, so it's either take it out completely, and then, I guess I'm thinking, and at South Macon, it's the slides, the coating is peeling
Correct.
off. So,
East Franklin too.
you know, those aren't things that, we've looked at that before, you can't just spray new coating on, that doesn't make any sense, you're just wasting money to do that. So I go back to this holistic approach, but do we pull it all out and then you don't have anything? And we write a bunch of grants in hopes that we get some, or do we prioritize this at the top? I agree with Mr. Henning, this is a big chunk of change. So it's like a piece, I don't know, what do we do first?
Is there a possibility just to replace a piece at a time, like the most disrepair, like the slide? What's the cost of just replacing that? And let's just start with the pieces that, like down at Halen, we're down to 2 slings now. I've seen the chains were broke on 2 of them. So could we not just assess what is unsafe?
Right.
And let's just replace that slide this year, and then maybe next year, if there's something that's getting up, look at it that way, and not try to, unless we get the grant, but we could go ahead and do the.
Have the big
what's
picture
unsafe.
and then start willing away at it. Exactly.
Thank you. You just said it much better than I could have. You hit exactly where I was headed.
I mean, we need to replace if
There's
it's
certain pieces.
unsafe.
Correct.
But let's not
Just
just,
the question if we can, for this particular one, I'm not sure that, like, you can replace on this particular piece of equipment, like if that's like slide exists anymore.
It's the whole
well,
thing.
you could get a new slide, just get a new slide for them. It doesn't have to look
A
exactly.
freestanding slide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I don't even think it's a function of like, it's not that we need this slide, because there's another slide. It's just making sure that this piece, like,
Maybe we just need to get rid of it and give
That's
it.
part of the whole thing, what Hillary's showing, you see on the,
Yeah.
I think you can see the
Yeah.
board there on the end. I think I'm right, Hillary, saying that that's just a piece of board that we put in.
Right.
Our pet crew has, so it's rough board there, and then the others are plastic, the sides, and of course the
Maybe we
swing.
should just start,
Take that down.
let's take down what's
Put it-
unsafe
Put up something
and
that,
work on the grant.
yes.
And I
Exactly.
guess that's exactly what that's, I'm getting the impression for some reason that South Macon, I think, Ms. Gwen, based on what she said, we have some unsafe situations. I think this figure that she had was to repair the unsafe conditions. That's why I keep coming back to it. I think it has to be a priority because
Yeah.
if we have that, we can't have children
Agree.
I agree.
exposed to that.
My opinion is, because Alice and I talked about this one time, I don't know that repair makes good sense down there because it's replacing a coating on the, and it may make more sense to replace the slide,
Correct.
period, than to repair a coating. That's just what I'm.
That's what I'm saying. But I want
Yeah.
to, in her 24, we may just have to get some clarification from her about exactly what she's proposing.
She was trying to like come in on the, the
Save us money.
the cheapest and best thing to go about it, but I'm not sure that makes in the
Yes,
long
Could we
run.
get a cost of just what that piece, the pieces that need to be replaced would cost? And then we'll work on the grant and maybe we can go in and finish it out if we get
I
that.
think it'd be a thing if we could get that and then go from there, set some money back. Because like I said, I know, we've seen the same request for her for
Yeah.
years plus years.
So that's her number one of this whole
Exactly.
list. So if we can just put a asterisk at $25,000, a note that that's probably, and just account for that in the numbers
And what-
today and what we're gonna
Because it was
approve.
adjust, yes.
And hope that that's enough, and then if it's not, we'll see, but she's got 24,516, and that's to, it looks like, it says repairs, but I'm not, these pieces along with the other structures have wear and tear. I'm not sure if it's, like if the repair is just replacing the slide, but if we can, see if we can, at least for $25,000, make it accommodating in the near future and safe.
Well, it says that 25, and I had looked at the additional comments where she'd said she'd been working with someone she'd used in the past from Play World. So if we set 25, and then we can direct Allison to get with this person, give us an idea, and then we can always adjust to someone, but I do think we need to address it. So I think your suggestion is just set $25,000 aside of our working amount then, right now, for that. Does it meet everybody's approval? So if we, so right now, just keep it, so two things we talked about are the coolers, which is 20, it's not, we're, I haven't voted yet, 25.5, and then this would be 25, Lane,
Yes,
correct?
yeah.
So it's gonna put us down to what?
$157,231.
Plus the other 100,000, which we're gonna keep it.
I have a question about one of the requests.
Yes.
For Franklin High School, I know they're getting a new school, but I was noticing here the crosswalks redone. It says desperately need crosswalks repainted. One of them can't be seen anymore and requires a special paint. Is that a danger? Them not being able to see the crosswalks?
Is it
Is it a crosswalk across Panther Drive, or is that crosswalk across?
Campus?
Yeah.
So is that not?
I mean, that's something that we
That
can
was
do.
like
if we
our
can.
It'd be easy.
Exactly.
I think what you're there's a crosswalk there in between the English building
And the
and the parking lot where most kids come up, so no,
We get parking lot paint.
we can paint that. We probably need to paint the
And then the
bumps,
handicap-
those speed breaks, a little bit, they're fading out, so we can do that.
And they don't have a handicap parking spot? It says it needs to be lined off.
They have handicap, but that's.
I bet that's up there at the main building.
Yeah, they
And
have.
it's right next to 3 spaces that aren't, and it does, if you're not looking for the big sign, it's not blue.
So
I
we
bet
can
that's
take
what it
care of
is.
that.
Yes, yeah. There's even
Just
like
put- yeah,
community.
I'll do the
I don't know why they
signs
put
and
that on.
paint, yeah.
We're supposed to have a $5,000 capital outlay, so, or minimum, so, I mean, that's,
But we can set aside and keep that as something, Tracy made a notation on it, so we'll look at, see what the district want.
What about the other parking at East Franklin, Macon Middle School? Because I'm thinking in terms of priority, the
Right.
safety. We've got playground equipment, we've got getting into the school parking, and then floors. There was a
Well, I
floor.
think the one we need to talk about, Victor, you're right, another, where I said it next is on the parking lots. Remember, we have a bad situation at NBI. If y'all remember, we had,
Did we
They
prioritize
did, they did.
that? Yeah.
they prioritised somewhat, but based on what Tracy was describing, we've got cracks that are literally big enough someone can step into and injure themselves.
yes.
I think it's on our
There
definite do list.
Yeah.
was a lady that did.
It
118,000.
definitely is.
we already-
No, I think this Tracy had it broken down, we could get quotes on the separate parts of that, Tracy, correct?
Yes, and Laney has that as well, for MBI. The front,
That front section, is that where that, I thought that's where the big cracks were. aren't
It
they?
is.
In the
Oh.
parking.
Laney helped me with the, do you see on there where it's? Anyway, they
Main
got,
parking.
okay, I got you. Main front parking lot is 118.
There's 118.
But that's already been in our numbers. We've accounted
Yeah,
for
we've
that.
already counted for that.
Okay, so 118, we had that figure, and it's
Yeah,
in
Yeah,
the
and then go down, there's
342,
bus
correct?
parking, and
Yeah.
then go
That's
down,
where I dropped the
there's
ball.
entry
I didn't realize we'd actually, and I knew we talked about it, we do have a figure of 118. That's
Yes.
included in the 342.
All right, now that number
Yes,
may be
that
a
is in
little,
the 342.
because these are only good for 30 days.
That's
That
fine,
was
just keep
given
us-
back in June.
Thank you all. I missed that 118, for some reason I had in my head week. didn't have a figure last time, and we were gonna bring it in, so my mistake.
Well, I have the other two, maybe what you're thinking
It's the
about.
top one. that we
Yes,
started
yeah.
with, So that's done. So
Right.
these are still.
Right.
The other ones, yeah.
Plus the other schools, right? So there, to Deidre's point, there's a list of resurfacing and paving issues that we'll need to tackle every year.
Correct.
Deciding on who's
It may be
most.
one at a time, and I think
Right.
we chose MBI just because of the potential danger there.
And then we said we would maybe choose one per year.
And we're looking for one per year to do that.
It says which one is it first.
Well, just to give you a ballpark of middle school, bus parking down there, we've got two. We can either do the chip and seal, which is like what you see out here, tar with the chat on top of it. For $114,000, or regular pavement for $185,000.
For what?
The middle school,
For the parking, the bus parking area, at Macon Middle School.
these are quotes for that.
It's just happened to be one that's, but Dina, you saw another, what was the other parking lot you mentioned?
Yeah, this
East
is,
Franklin is just asking for 4,400.
I think it's just for gravel.
these are just newer quotes for the middle school. So they're not in this
Yeah, they're not in.
spreadsheet.
We're just talking about in the future, that maybe the next one we look at, as we do the certain paving at MBI, and making those schools would be next year's target. But I think the 4,400 is talking about it,
113,000.
for East Franklin, is just gravel, wasn't it, Tracy? To expand an area where they park.
Is that on that basketball court, Deidre, do you know if that's where, I'll say basketball court, they punched that?
I thought it was in the back behind the gym.
We need more
Gravel.
parking for events, and gravel in an extra area would provide additional parking spots for community events like basketball.
Okay, so when they done the construction addition on that school, they created a pad out there and never did get paved because we, I guess, ran out of money or whatever. And so that's already ready just to be put gravel on it. Gravel couldn't be just put on it now.
And down, and it's behind, isn't it behind the gym back
behind.
there? Like where,
Yeah.
And that's only $4,400?
Yeah. And it was number 3 asked because in number 1 and 2 are security cameras and door pipes that make
Which
it.
we- exactly,
So we can get
right.
their top 10. Also their fencing, I did write that down too. Is that, I mean, talking about safety of students, is that there as a need for fencing?
Well, it's all behind the school, but
Playground, isn't it, Tracy?
it's that playground
Fence
that's,
is the playground. The playground right now is currently sided on 3 sides by building. There is one side that is not contained, and fencing would do it.
but in my opinion, see what you think, there's none of the playground. Why would you, I mean, I would think attach it to the building up here at above the kitchen, and go to the bank there, and back at the gym and attach it to the bank there, and then you have everything enclosed.
Yeah, I think their fencing estimate is just for the playground, and Tracy's talking about fencing the whole campus. Right, Tracy?
Yeah, it'd just be 2 runs. Obviously, it'd probably be double the price of
But
what you've got.
money
but-
than what she's got as an estimate.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw.
No, that's exactly what we need to hear.
But I mean, anybody can get in either side.
And right now, it's.
So I think it makes
right
sense
now,
to-
plus it's open, anybody can get in, and
Yes.
and for safety purposes, as we're talking about, then we need to do what you're talking about, to seal it off and keep unwanted people, or at least there's some barricade there to slow them down.
Yes.
You're talking like 6-foot fencing, like tall fencing.
Yes, I would say.
Chain link.
Yeah, chain link.
Top it,
Yes.
So here they have about 22,000, so you think double-ish?
It's a 21.8 for what they had.
Yeah, that's be about double that length.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
Be at least double. yes.
It'd be at least double, yeah.
So right now, if we were to set 45,000 aside, just as, that helps us work, we may have to adjust a little bit, but that, in your estimation, that pretty much covers us, correct? Okay. 45,000. So we had the additional gravel and then the fencing for East Franklin. Gives for those two right at $50,000.
Outside of, outside of our capital budget, are there I think, Brooke, you were talking earlier about some security monies. Like, are there other security funds that we think we might be getting soon that can be used for things like this fencing so that we don't have to use this pot? Or that we have in a different pot for security? I just want to make sure that anything that's security related we can use.
Yeah.
So we're not.
Yeah, we potentially have some. We got a pot of money last time we applied for it. It was a competitive grant. We've got some money left in there that we were, I wrote it in for like a school psychologist to contract one. I couldn't find anybody. So we're going to see if we could reappropriate some of that money for whatever Tim has on the docket to spend. And we did ask for $500,000 for equipment, and a large bulk of that would be for like the blue lights in the places that it's, you know, hard to maybe hear things auditorily, and cameras and swipes and stuff like that, and then Columbine door locks, things like that. So we're hoping to get $500,000.
We specifically asked for fencing.
I did for Iola's.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's an easy connection to draw, fencing and safety.
Absolutely.
So just depending, because his stuff's expensive.
Yeah.
And
So, I mean, the best thing, if we allocated it out of capital today, if we took $50,000 for fencing for Iowa, and we were able to mitigate 30 of that with another grant, then that opens up about 30 to put towards, so that, I mean, these projects aren't going, the ones that are getting funded today are still going to be sitting here. So we could just do that along the way. Is that right? Okay.
I guess we can, just for discussion's sake right now, put that on there, and then we can see where we're at. So that leaves us, we'd have to, in my brain, I'm trying to leave that $100,000 extra we have as our reserve sitting back there, if you're what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And so with that, I can't see that, Lane, now we're at, with the ones we've added,
I've got $112,231.
remaining.
Yes.
Right.
Are we doing 50,000 or 45,000 for
Well,
the
for East Franklin, it was 44
Okay.
for the paid for the gravel, and then that's made it 45, so I rounded
Okay.
that all,
Just
so it
making
was
sure.
50.
And then you guys wanted the gravel?
Yeah,
Do you have the
4,400.
gravel up there?
No, I don't.
That was 4,400,
So parking lot gravel for East Franklin, 4,400.
because I do need it, it's been, they have their names up there, it's tight.
Yes.
And that, to that point, if you're gonna have people coming in to the backside of your campus, all the more reason to have a fence there that they couldn't get back to.
Correct. We have to look at it.
So,
I want to make sure it's at least 6 feet high though, so people can't hop it.
Oh, yeah.
I see people.
I think it's what we have, the Franklin High School trace, was that 6 feet or 7?
No, it's 8 feet.
8 feet, yeah.
Okay.
That Franklin, we put it higher,
Yeah.
Even though.
yeah.
So what do you want me to ask for? 6 or 8?
I prefer 8, because like I said, even as old man as I am with 6 foot, they jump on top of it, I can hop that fairly easy, where I'll probably break my neck, but You're too much of disbelief.
Hopping a 6-foot fence is impressive for anyone. I couldn't hop a 3-foot fence.
Well, you scale
I couldn't even
it.
get out of my recliner.
Rodney Dangerfield too, that's me. That's good. Actually, if y'all permission, I'd like to turn to Tracy now. We've talked about this. Tracy, in your position, you see things that we might need. Is there anything else out there that you feel like we need to, we've got this list, but in your opinion, we need to focus on?
The last meeting, we talked about the flooring at Macon Middle School commons areas.
Yes.
And we've got a quote from Passengers on that for $31,000 to do those 3 commons areas for the flooring's buckling.
Right.
And obviously, in my opinion, I think that's the reason that the carpet was put in there in 1976 is because of these expansion joints. They're not level, and it would take a lot of work to ever get level. So in my opinion, that's, carpet hides a lot of sin. So that's,
And the carpet will have, where that bulge, it'll
yes,
level that out.
It'll
correct?
take that out.
And you've talked to Mark.
I talked to Mark, and Mark's Mark would rather have the whole school carpeted again,
again.
back the way it was,
Yeah,
because of the sound and the thing, different
And
things.
the
But
flooring that they put in there is not lived up to what we were told it would be, obviously.
So Tasha's gonna put carpet on those three, on the commons, all three commons, the whole commons? Okay,
Correct.
got it. That makes great sense.
correct. Which I asked, I didn't know how they done it from when we was in school.
Right.
You know, we gathered there every morning and sat around, and he said they still do. So when they do that, they're having to sit on that cold tile floor, and he said actually that would help that situation as well.
So if we had $31,000, then that puts us again
76,000.
76. Anything else, Tracy?
I didn't have nothing as, this is just in my thing, and I don't think you have it on your list, is I replaced the back 5 windows in Mr. Lynch's office and on the back side of the building. Last year, I would love to replace these 5 windows. Is there 5 or 6? 5 windows here, 4, 1 in there.
Yeah, right.
Because you've seen us raise them before, and they slap back down.
Right.
And maybe put the tinning on there for when you have this on, just to have
Cost?
10, those over there were 9,200, so I said these would be 10,000.
$10,000 windows,
And
sir.
those are already reused from the high school. right?
They are, that's so, yeah.
They're already all through their second lifetime.
These windows?
Yeah.
So soon it'll be 10,000, that puts us down to 60, around 66.
Yeah.
And we still have 100,000 in the reserve.
Yes.
Anything else, Tracy?
One other thing that was brought up last time was the lab faucets at Macon Middle School with the gas cock on them. So they are, it's $4,000 for 10 of those. And of course, we would do the installation on those.
I guess, are those things dangerous? Here's the reason I'm asking this. I look at Mark's priority, he has that down as number 5, as a 5 versus
Well,
there's
like-
other things that he thought they felt were more important.
They had actually, from when Margaret Simpson left there, that room has never really been used. And so
They rotate through it.
they do rotate through it. So I went and asked, and he said they rotate, so it's not continually used, but they rotate through on lab projects. So the gas has actually been unhooked from that section of the building, because when, you know, obviously when gas gets down to 20% in your tank, it vents, it
Correct.
stinks. So then they're always calling, oh Lord, there's something wrong.
Correct.
So they just want it unhooked. So with it, if it's been unhooked for 4 or 5 years, if they've not used it till now, it makes me wonder how much they do use it. I don't know.
Hey, I've got a little birdie whispering over here, that science curriculum.
I just
That bird,
don't know why
are
they
you
would
listening
need.
to it?
Yes, I am.
I would like to listen to
I'm
it.
sorry if I'm being silly. Go
I
ahead.
mean, unless they're doing some sort of special essential arts class during that time, there's not much chemistry in that curriculum where they would need
Need
gas.
that.
And they
The
probably
high
make
school
a,
has that as a priority in their chemistry lab, but not,
they probably make a burner now that's,
yeah, I mean, there's other ways
ways
to
to
deal
do it.
with
Yes,
that
I've
that
got
are less
solo
expensive
students.
than putting that back in. I
At a
mean,
discount, right?
I can talk to the science PLC and find out what their thoughts are, but I can't think of anything in the middle school.
I mean, they've not harped about that in 3 or 4 years.
Because I think we were worried about it possibly being a danger.
Yeah.
Reason came up.
But if you do leave that on, then
But
it
then we know it's shut off, so, okay.
Yeah.
That's my question. I
So
think we
maybe
move on.
some of these too, we could make, let's make sure they get taken off the list if we know that they're not needed. I had a question about the lawnmower request for Highlands. I think we were gonna go back and speak with them. Do you know about that?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I do not have that figure. Did I give that to you?
You may have, I don't have it up here, I don't think.
Anyway, Ms. Holbrooks has that. She was not asking for a contract or any of that. She was just asking for the mower to do that. I asked her which she could do without, if we brought her another one up there, and she pointed out, she talked to the custodians and whomever does their mowing, and she took me out there and showed me which piece of equipment we could bring back down here, which will actually help Iola if we can do that, because I can take it to the sewer leach field and put it there.
Okay,
So,
so the mower that is on here, it's a lawnmower and weed eater, that's what she's asking for, is that mower, and then that's gonna free up a piece of equipment that you can bring back for Iowa. Is there, with the tractor attachment, grader bucket, is that something that they feel like is super necessary? I know, or is that something we have here that can be shared?
They have a tractor there with a blade on it for their snow purposes. Actually, the tractor it's 20 years old and only has 200 and some hours on it.
Okay.
And that's basically all they use it for, is to push snow.
Okay.
But she didn't mention anything to me about the mulch, moving that.
Moving them all, okay, so if we feel like if we can, essentially, I told you all this at the last meeting, we're using a faculty member's personal mower to mow at school. And so it sounds like you feel like this is a need.
Well, I didn't realize, when Mr. Jetter was there, they used this smaller tractor with a finished mower. That's what they used to mow the soccer field with.
This person's, I want to clarify, they're only using their personal mower for the soccer field.
Correct.
Not the whole grounds. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
And then it's her choice to do that, because they do have mowers. They just wanted to look a special way.
Mower that was being used, but their choices they didn't like. If I remember what Hillary said, they didn't necessarily like, maybe what Hillary used, they didn't like how it was doing, so they chose to bring their personal mower there, correct?
It wasn't cutting it low enough, right?
Yeah, but as they use and they stripe and they do all these things with their mowers now that's on fields, they didn't have that option up there because they didn't have a zero-turn mower.
So let me ask this question. If we put turf into that soccer field, they have a mower that mows the rest of the grounds.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I think we need to talk about that then first, because we don't need to spend, that's a chunk of a mower. I certainly do not want anybody having to use their personal mower for school purposes. For the soccer field, do we have a number now?
I talked to a different engineering firm about the situation up there, and they have a different viewpoint on what's going on up there. They feel that the bedrock underneath all of the layers of sand, dirt, silt, swamp muck, etc., there's water leaching up through the cracks in that bedrock, which adds to the problem. Yes, you can take care of the water coming off of Satula, but you're still going to have water leaching up through the cracks in the bedrock. That there's really no way to take care of that other than a drainage system that is currently up there that's under the surface. And it still may not do it as adequately as everybody would like.
And this is based off of what?
I talked to
what basis did they come up with this from?
I talked to 3 engineers from the same firm, I think it was HDR. This firm was referred to me by a retired DOT engineer that I should talk to them. I was on a Zoom call. I had taken 10 pictures of what the situation was, and they had maps dating all the way back to the 1940s that showed some of the contours of the land, and we talked about what was going on up there and characteristics, specifics, and they were also looking at the geology year-long study, and that was their opinion that there's water coming up from the bottom, not just off of Satula Mountain.
So where we left it were the main solution is to have proper drainage and places for this water to go away from underneath the surface, be it coming from the top, be it coming from
Underneath.
the mountain, or from underneath, just to get the water out, and then putting the proper top layer on, which, based on most people I've talked with, turf is preferable for many reasons, but not just athletic, but also from a curriculum perspective, because it makes it a year-round use. So I guess where I'm trying to get to is like a dollar amount for the next step, and then what are the steps after that? So is that involving hiring a designer to design a mitigation system and the top layer and a field designer? Where do we go next?
The two
civil engineering firms I talked to, Wade Trim and HDR, I think is what they're, both agree that the water has to be taken away from the site. They both agree that the water drainage in between the field and the mountain needs to be addressed. This other civil engineering firm felt like the water underneath needs to be addressed also before you have a solution to the problem. Once you take the water off of the field, out of that area, then you can put whatever surface you want on it. Whether it's turf, or whether it's grass, or whatever kind of grass you want to put up there. But unless you, according to one, unless you deal with both problems from underneath and from the mountain, or Wade Trim says you just deal with the far side, then you're really not going to have a surface that is going to be as dry as you want it to be.
Sure. I understand that. I'm just saying, well, what's the next step? Who comes in and designs the draining? Is that something that is the next step, or do you hire somebody to project management, like a design, bid, build way?
To me, that's probably what's going to happen, is we put it out there for, I don't know whether an RFQ and RFP would be, probably the RFP to design it would probably be adequate.
Well, I mean, if we're thinking a design build is again, we're finding all these niche sort of problems that do seem to lend themselves to a design build where you put together the engineer and the firm that are the contractor that are going to do it together. And I think it's going to take something like that, because, and it's almost like what we would do is hopefully get responses. And I don't know, at least get two. I mean, do you feel like that was SDR or something?
I think it's HDR. I have to go back and look.
Did you get the feeling that's something that they're actively engaged in to work on?
They would do, yes. I think that if we sent out something like that, I think that they would put in their qualifications to respond to it.
Okay. Yeah, we could look at that. I mean, you could almost get, if you could get responses from interested engineer/contractor teams to do a design build process for that, who would come in and their presentation would largely be, here's what we think the problem is and here's how you fix it. We'd have to really want them to have drilled down literally and figuratively to be sure you know what you're telling us, and go from there. One thing that in discussion of this issue that has come up, and it really did ring a bell with me, take it for what it's worth, it was 15 years ago, but I remember Donnie Edwards distinctly saying, whatever you do back there, it's all going to be wet, because there's springs everywhere. And then so,
Here we are.
Yeah.
And springs come up from the bottom through the cracks in the bedrock.
Right.
Interrupting Todd.
Yes, sir.
Did we get a quote? I'm trying to go this thing in increments, if that makes any sense, and try to start mitigating part of what we have. Did we get a quote on repairing that drainage on the side of the field in between it and the mountain? Have we ever gotten a quote of what it would take to get that water diverted in its entirety and then see what effect that would have on the field as far as drying it? Did we do that, or where
we got a quote from Wade Trim to design, draw up, repair of that drainage on the far side, yes.
Okay, do you remember how much it was?
I don't, I have to go back, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is that like $12,000 though? It's not to do it, it's just to design.
That is correct, that's a perfect way of saying it.
Yes.
And at least we have a figure about, with our reserve about, is that the first step we take?
Well,
Try to get the water diverted and see how big an effect it has on the field, and then we can start taking the next steps. If we have to go down and dig and do other things, we'll have a better idea. Because that has to be done regardless.
Yes, both of the ones I talked to agreed that would have to be done, and the one says that's not going to totally dry it, and the other one, I never got a guarantee that would take care of it. That fix of the drainage would take care of it.
and that's just off Satula.
That's correct.
Just managing that water.
That is correct.
We're now getting to kind of we have been in a sense of urgency about this, But the reason I want to make sure that we have the RFP, if that's what's needed, out ASAP is because we're gonna have to get information back, a plan back, the numbers back, and we need to get this done this summer. And now we're sitting in December, so we're at the point where it's time to like flip those switches so we can get the lights on on the new field by the fall. That's why I just want to be very clear on what is the next step. So I'm wondering, instead of just dealing with, I'm hesitant to just deal with just the drain piece instead of the whole piece for an RFP because I think it's just going to slow us down. I know that drain needs to be taken care of, but I would put that with the whole project for the RFP to design the entire thing, not just that water, but any water that comes up to do it together. And I'm eager to get a number on what that would cost as I'm just eager to know that number as to what the first step cost. And then that way we have a timeline on when we know what the whole thing costs, because that's what we need to go to the commissioner's way.
So the good news is we got basically the RFP for design build ready to go after what we just did for
I would like, if we, I don't know if we need to vote on that, but that's what I would like to move forward with.
Are you including the turf in that when you say the whole thing?
So,
because if we're going to present this to the commissioners, we need to present the entire package, so we don't keep going back, now we want turf. Let's just do the whole thing.
yeah,
I want to interrupt one more time, Hillary. My thought process was, we still have before we start this stuff, we still have a spring season coming up there. And I'm trying to mitigate, if doing the drainage over there is not much, because it's going to be part of it, if we get that water away, that will help the situation for your soccer season that's upcoming in the spring to at least dry it out where you don't have the conditions y'all tried to play in last year.
Exactly.
You follow me?
I do. What I'm saying is, yes,
if we done like that would get us through this season while we're exploring your thing about what we need to do to mitigate the whole thing, because that also has to be part of it anyway.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, to answer both of your questions, what I'm looking at is somebody to do that part, the turf, the whole thing, the whole, not just get a, for instance, if they said, we'll clean that drain out for $12,000, I'm hesitant to just start doing things piecemeal, because what if somebody who's designing the whole thing comes in and says, well, that's going to need to work with this thing that we're doing over here. So my thought is to have somebody do the whole project, design, build, or design build, as you say, and then that way we have the same eyes on it. It makes me nervous because I know they cleaned the drain out, and that has helped a lot, and that helped this soccer season a lot. They went in, and I think it was Bryson went in and just
all that stuff out,
took all of that out. So it's not to say it's fixed, but it was certainly a huge help. But yes, Deidre, in my mind, it does include the turf. What this RFP, what their final project will include would be designing the whole thing, including the water mitigation and the drainage. But I guess what I was not saying is they won't be able to, they'll have to hire somebody else to come in and do the turf. But whoever designs it might be able to do the water. I guess it's still going to be the same full project. My thought was just, it won't be them probably doing it.
You would have a contractor to manage all of it.
Exactly.
And then they will sub out the drainage, and then they'll sub out the turf. Right.
Even if we can get like a CM at risk situation, because I know there's some folks, I don't know if that's right or not.
The only issue with CM at risk is it presumes you have designed it first by an architect or engineer who the CMAR then comes
But
in
if we
and takes
do the design bid, then we can bring them on. That's what I'm talking about. The reason I'm liking the CM at risk is because I think there are some local folks who are interested in and who know the field, I just don't want to have somebody totally coming from the outside that maybe doesn't have the knowledge. Now, that's going to be up to whoever we hire. I'm not saying they're hired, but it's nice to know if somebody who has history with the field can be a part of it too. Whereas if it's not a CM, then I like the way we did our CM. But yes, Deidre, I'm 100% agree. That's the vision I'm seeing. This is not my field, so sometimes I feel convoluted, but does that make sense too, to your question about the drain?
I'm just trying to look at a way to help mitigate, if it wasn't very much, for the kids, the children this summer, we could get the field dried out until we get that, seeing the way we go through the process or whatever, but I'm fine with however you want to move forward. That was just a suggestion. It might help the kids this spring, because if I understood right, last year, the field was so wet, we had unsafe conditions, and they weren't even able to play in the field at times.
That was last fall.
Right.
It was better in the spring once they cleared that drain out.
Okay.
And so that helped a lot because they went in and cleared a bunch of stuff out of that drain. But yes, I think in terms of the phasing, once the contractor's hired, the phasing could be prioritized to get the water mitigation going sooner than later, so that hopefully...
I'll stand down.
Well, they're not gonna rip that grass off, right, until the summer, so if they get or maybe they'll have to get the water. Again, this is...
So let me ask you, I'm clear, because the way we would do an RFP for a design build firm to talk about doing this would be, for one, I think Todd can take first step, talking to the folks he's already been talking to, would they be willing to get together the combination it's going to take between design engineers, which is mostly what we have, a contracting firm, and would they be willing to also, as Tracy said, you would sub out all of the turf work when you got to that point, and would they propose for a design build contract like that? And then the contract itself can kind of phase it, like Jim's talking about, where in time for this coming spring use, maybe if we can do it, we'd have to get them out there immediately, but they can maybe take that first step and still be on the job for, okay, that wasn't enough, and we still got water here. The next steps are actually going to deal with the springs.
Yes.
Do all that by like May-ish.
Okay, well, I have one more question, or maybe just a comment. But the commissioners are going to start their budgeting process February, March-ish.
Right.
And we really want, if possible, to have a number that encompasses the whole project to hand to them.
Yes.
That
Good point.
is bigger than it needs to be, so that we're not going back saying,
Yes.
Yes. So can we get that out tomorrow? The RFP. I say tomorrow, I'm kidding.
Todd
But like,
says yes.
as soon as possible. And it's 30-day window?
I mean, we don't have to you don't have to advertise it for 30 days, but you cast your net larger, you might get more. If your net is small, you may not get what you're looking for.
If we don't get 3 firms responding to talk to and come up with the one we think is the best fit, we'll be extended some. I mean, 30 days, and we also know at least 2 different parties to try to push into.
We think that they would jump into that.
Is a good start.
But you're right, that's such a good point, because then, I mean, if they're hired, how long is it gonna take them to get the design work done and completed, so that then we have a package to present?
Right.
That's the trick.
I think this time it's time to go ahead. If we're going to start our requests, they need to be approved by the board, correct? So at this time, I entertain a motion.
I motion that we submit an RFQ.
That we approve this.
RFP
for
An RFP, that's okay. I make a motion that we submit an RFP for a designer to come back with a complete package for the Highland School soccer field.
Or design build.
Design build package for the soccer field.
We have a motion, there, your second.
second.
Any other discussion?
Yes, question. RFQ is for their qualifications.
Once we do the
RFP is for them to design it, and we have a number attached to that
RFP
one?
is the first step.
The proposal is for them to tell us how much it will cost to hire them to design it. So that's why we want to do an RFP as opposed to an RFQ, because the qualifications is just like your resume and your background, but the RFP is going to say, here's how much we will charge you to design, build this.
It's sort of. So when you hard bid things, the design bid build method, you have your designer who puts together a package, they put it out on the street and say, who's our lowest responsible bidder? RFQ on the other end is under what's called the Minnie Brooks Act, is a state law that says when you go select architects and engineers, it's not bidding, you don't take the lowest responsible bidder. They need to tell you why they're the ones, they're the professionals who will do the best job designing this thing for you. Design build is kind of right in the middle of that. It is, we call it an RFP, it's a request for proposals because it's a mixture of who's equipped to design this for us as an engineer and who you put as a team that's going to build this thing. We will need them to go as fast as they can to figure out what the engineering fix is and how much it's going to cost and give us ultimately a proposal that knits those two together. Now, I think we can kind of take that step by step and hopefully by maybe if we really push it, the budget time for the commissioners, a ballpark figure. That'll be very
In the interest of time, Mr. Ship, the motion we need to make would be phrased how?
I think she said it already.
Okay.
Issued RFP for design build services for the Highlands field to be let out as soon as possible.
Do we get a number for both a Q or a P? Because what I want is the number of what
because
everyone's charging.
in either case, you figure out who is your best fit for your project, and with this one, that's going to mean sell us that you know that this is the right fix, I think, or tell us how you're going to first fix tool and then how you're going to address the springs if it's not just that. And then, okay, now give us a number. And that, after you have selected who you think is the best fit, then you go through and get to a contract of it's X dollars. So that's the tricky part.
Basically, we'll have you for your guidance as we go through this, John.
So we won't get numbers back of how much they're gonna cost?
We will get I think we can get a ballpark figure in time to go to the commissioners and say, we need about this much. It won't be a finalized contract, most likely.
I'm talking about the first step number to hire them for their plan.
To do the design, yes, I think we can get there.
That'd be part of the request, I would imagine, so when we propose it and also get a cost to us. Can we do that? That's what we want to do.
I've already gotten a design an estimate to design the drainage system better in between the two. I've already got an estimate for that from Wade Trim to design a better drainage system just between the field and Satula, not addressing what's under the field.
Correct. But if we put out an RFP, we could get that along with at least hopefully two other groups to give us some idea.
I would think so.
And do you remember that estimate?
No, I'd have to go back to my...
I remember they kept doubling. I remember at one point it was like 12, but then it was 25, and then it was like, but there was variation, those were different companies. It was a variation of what they were gonna do.
And one of them, again, was just that drainage system between the field and the mountain. It didn't address underneath at all.
Will you email that number to me?
I will. Again, I'm a little worried that someone's going to struggle to bid on this if we do the whole package because nobody knows for sure what's going on underneath.
Exactly.
And you don't know what to design and how to evacuate the water if you don't know exactly what's going on up there.
Well, I guess that,
but I think the way to flesh that out is, how many responses do you end up getting from these folks that have been looking up there for a while and now have some idea of how much trouble it is or isn't? We may not get proposals, I don't know. But I don't think you're any worse off. If you do a traditional design bid build, you still got to select who is your project engineer. And if you're going to have them on the hook for more than just this $12,000-ish, we think, to design the Satula fix, and I think you need that, you're going to be a while doing an RFQ for them to have them design documents to then take them out to bid, then to hopefully find your lowest bidder. That will not put you on a timeline to get done with that for this summer any way, shape, or form. The only chance you've got to do it, I think, is see if you can get one of these groups to coalesce as a design build.
Give us a proposal for this.
And we should have a lot of information to give them between the year-long study and the other things we've paid for them to come and do and the documents. We have a lot of information that has already been paid for that we shouldn't have to double pay for. I guess I've heard you say this a couple different ways, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. When they get back to us with the RFP, what they will come back to us for is not the full project price, it's just their price to design it, correct?
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, if you're talking about a design build, it's the whole ball of wax.
Okay, so it will be the whole thing?
I'm gonna try to make it,
Okay.
yeah. And because again, I mean, we could just get a design done. I'm very worried about what that looks like to just, I mean, I think you can get an engineer to go, yeah, sure, this fixes it. Good luck with that. And then you're never gonna, they'll come do something and it'll all wash away, and I just don't know where we are at that point.
So if they're coming back to us with a design build, at that point, is that when you determine if are the people coming back to us the designers and then they hire the contractors, or then we determine?
So there's nothing that tells us how they go and figure out who they are. When we got down pretty far down the road on Nantahala, it was with Black & Veatch, the engineering firm, and Harper Construction, deciding we can be a team for this and we will do a joint proposal for your design build project up there. I think it's going to look very similar to that.
Okay.
I don't think it's such a specialized problem. There's not a bunch of firms out there that have an on-staff engineer and, a team of, heavy equipment operators waiting to come in and muck out it's going to be, so it's in part why I think it's a good fit for that. So yes, we're trying to put together the whole project.
Thank you for helping me understand, because my only history with this has really been the Highland School project, and that was, we did the advanced planning study, then we did the designer, then we did the firm. Yeah. So that's what I was seeing, and that's where I was getting a little nervous about the timing. But this is better. I am clear now, and I'm happy that this can maybe get done sooner than later.
You make a great point, though, that we have done a lot of the advanced work already, and that needs to be super clear in the RFP that, look, here it is, here's where you can find all of it, and also go up there and look at whatever you need to look at. But it makes a 30-day timeline a lot more palatable.
Right.
To say, you don't have to go digging up there. You just...
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and take a vote now. All in favor, please say by saying aye. I think you did, yeah. Everybody in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Now, to get back where we started from.
Sorry.
Back to the mower. So where we're at, Tracy, get me back on track. It would work if we got a new mower up there, because we could then bring the mower we have to take care of Iola Valley.
Correct.
Project, correct?
Yes.
And we're looking at, what was the quote on that?
I think it was
$17,500.
Yeah, not cheap.
My only question is, if we end up turfing that field, is the mower necessary still?
Well, the mower could be taken somewhere else. We've got other aging mowers.
Okay.
So, it could be utilized.
Okay.
And they have a tractor type mower, and I say not a farm tractor type, but like you would use at your house, tractor type mower to mow the other parts as well. So they have that up there that they can take care of the other around the perimeter of the school. So they wouldn't be left without a mower if we took that away.
But if we get a new one, we'll place it up there until we see what happens in the field. That frees up another piece of equipment, goes to Iola Valley.
Correct.
Take care of that whole situation.
Or you could leave it up there to do the track.
Track, whatever, but it gives us flexibility about doing things that we need to do.
Correct.
So basically we're adding $17,500 to our running figure at this point.
That
With everybody's
should be
approval.
less though, when you get
Okay.
into it, because there are discounts for who's buying it.
But again,
So make sure
we're just putting the figure in there to kind of operate off of. Hopefully we save money, and Laney will come back and give us the great news that we got it for half the price we thought. We had money freed up.
So,
We'll take it clearance. I love Black Friday mower sale.
So we can go ahead and put that in as time, and then we can work around that figure in hopes that it comes in last, because it kind of gives us, it accomplishes two things. All right, at this point,
I have a process question. Do you mind? Okay.
I'm
So,
about to take a break right now.
well,
Go
so I
ahead.
have a question about when we want to make this final, because I'm aware we have our ethics training.
Right.
I have to leave at 11:30 and it's 10:20. So I want to make sure what we need to take care of now versus at the next meeting.
ethics training?
I don't have to, but I feel, I really, I just didn't realize.
Just take what you can for the ethics training.
What do we need to accomplish for the capital?
At this
now
point, I
versus-
think we've got it narrowed down, and if we spend the 17, that puts us down to about $50,000 remaining. So
Okay.
unless we have, where we're at with it, unless someone would look at me and say we have one more critical piece that we need to do for safety or whatever, then I think we're pretty much done. The general, we can
Okay.
approve this and move forward.
I just needed to understand.
But anything else, guys, if you look at this list of priority, anything else?
I think what we've added is we should take care of now and wait and see, because you never know what's gonna
Yeah.
break down in the middle of the year.
We're still sitting on it like it's March.
So we have a motion that we now put forward and accept the recommendations for the capital outlay that have been made, which would leave us a balance of around 49,000
$49,231.
remaining. And we'll make that decision about that at some further point.
Okay, perfect.
So your motion,
In reserve.
So moved.
and have a motion, there is a second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Great.
Actually, we did it better with prior. Now we're going to take a small break. As I just now realized we've been sitting here for,
Central office next year to this.
Yes.
Because there's stuff here.
well, I think what Tracy's talking about, we put it in there with these windows.
I think it's good to, I think it's good to make people aware.
Oh, yeah.
Are there
Only six over close.
Are there things we can pillage from Franklin High School
Yeah.
that were newer, that can come other places?
Yeah, that's what I was
Windows?
saying, we'll take a break. and then we need to-